Okay, and welcome back. We've got the HonTour replay cast of Goobys versus A Touch of Class. I'm NFG Dan. Here we have GoGo Gadget again. How you doing, Gadget?
Yes, good afternoon, evening, wherever you are. It's great to be able to cast this, first match of HonTour, which I've personally casted. So, we saw last match. It was a great game, pretty close in the end. Goobys ended up taking it. They just had a very strong team comp. They managed to get Jerry in the picking phase as well, and they built a team. I feel around that they managed to get their silo farmed as well, and took the game from there. So this game, we're gonna have to see, Dan, if a touch of class can shake up their lineup a bit, maybe pick some different heroes and see if they can take game two.
Yeah, definitely, and perhaps by changing some of that lineup, maybe some respect bands that might come out, changing the style of what they end up doing, we should be able to see something. Now, I can't actually see these these picks, unfortunately, as they are coming out here. I do just see the Tempest get picked up there, but it looks like I'm not sure if you can see the locks or the bands as they aren't turning up in my... oh wait, there we go. We've got the bands coming out at the moment. The blind bands being Draconis and Ophelia, and Tremble and Tundra. So pretty basic, pretty much the same bands we had last game. That Tremble band perhaps being a bit of a respect band, and the lock picks are just finishing up now as we get to the last 5 seconds of that lockpick now. We got Pebbles, Bubbles, Tempest, Nymphora, Glacius, and Fade. So a little bit different this time, Gadget.
Yeah, they're shaking it up a little bit there. So, obviously with the similar blind bands, but it looks like Goobys this time they've locked up Bubbles, Tempest, and Fade, and a touch of us taking into the lock pool Pebbles, Nymphora, and Glacius. So, pretty interesting locks here, slightly different to last game. And we'll see what the teams pick up. Now, obviously, last game Fade was banned, so we might see a Fade on the board for this game. In the meantime, we've got the bands going out. Jerizaiah and Silo banned so far for a touch of class. Meanwhile, Goobys have taken out that very strong Pharaoh that they played against last game. And Keep Chillin' has just said, I take that as a respect ban. So that's great.
Yeah, it's definitely good to see them having fun with the HonTour. I mean, it is high quality Hon on that competitive level, but the players are having good fun with it, and a bit of a nod, a bit of a respect coming out to each other. As you said, that Pharaoh was played greatly last game, but so was that Jerizaiah and Silhouette combo was just a little bit too powerful. Then we got Parasite and Keeper. Obviously, Touch of Class used Keeper last match, deciding not to let the Goobies pick him up this time. But having that Pebbles and Fade in that lock pool could be very interesting, as like you were saying that they were both banned last match. Though we may also see a Tempest get picked up here, as Tempest obviously a very powerful hero. He was locked last time, we didn't see him pick up. And just those final bans, we've got Meraxis getting banned by Tijimba as we head into the picking phase. What do you think of those bans? Pretty basic bans, Gadget?
Yeah, I think pretty standard there. I mean, as we pointed out, Meraxis banned by Goobys. We saw Meraxis played last game. Keeper, we also saw played last game. Touch of Class, so they're just banning out the heroes that they know are strong at the moment, and pretty standard bans all around. And now it is up to a Touch of Class to decide who they are going to pick first for this match. It's actually going to be Wild Soul. Okay, I mean, Wild Soul did escape through all those bans, and we know that in the competitive scene, he's seen a lot of play recently, as that strong suicide, and he's able to use Boo Boo to, pull the creeps all the way to his tower at level 1, and that is very, very strong. So, nice pick first by a Touch of Class.
Yeah, definitely, and especially if they have something in mind that they're going to pick up as their first lock, and that's going to leave Bubbles open to be picked up potentially by Goobies. So they're like, oh, well, maybe we won't have such a powerful Longlander, but actually Dark Lady escaping the bans as well and gets picked up there. So it'll be very interesting to see Dark Lady get played, one of those carries that can just take over a game, of course, as we saw that Silhouette start to do in the previous game. And Empath, so you can imagine she's going to be jumping into that Dark Lady, providing a lot of heals and speed. It could be a bit difficult for a touch class, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. The Imp Dark Lady combination is very, very strong. And, Dark Lady in the laners with that taint soul, you can just spam that out. Might be expecting something like an early Ring of the Teacher on whoever decides to play the Dark Lady on Goobys' side, just so you can continue that taint soul spam in the lane. It can be pretty potent. And as well, of course, Dark Lady, she has that charging strikes, that kind of blink which you can use to get out of any trouble or most trouble early on, and the Dark Blades, of course, offering a nice silence, a little bit of damage as well for whenever she wants to go aggressive. So nice pick there by Goobys. We'll see what a touch of class to spawn with. Now, there isn't too many supports on the board. I'd probably expect a touch of class to be picking up at least one of their supports here during this picking phase. I've actually picked up Deadwood and Zephyr, though, proving me completely wrong. So that's pretty interesting. Deadwood, I haven't seen him, in the competitive scene for too long, but he does a lot of damage, Dan.
Yeah, definitely. And his ultimate, I mean, he can shut down a Dark Lady even if a Dark Lady has a shrunken head, which I think is very powerful. Dark Lady's not likely to get a Null Stone to try and counter it. And obviously you can hold him in place, and when that Dark Lady's held in place and can't attack, he's just going to take so much damage. Dark Lady's dangerous when she can run around, attack, silence things, whatnot, maybe even get some lifesteal at some stage. But you hold her down, you hold her in place, she's going to take a lot of damage and going to be in a lot of trouble. So it's an interesting pickup. I think it's a very risky pickup as well. Obviously going for those two melee, that Zephyr and that Deadwood. Wild Soul usually played as a melee hero as you get into that late game, obviously with that ultimate. And Engineer picked up by Goobys, so it looks like Tjimba might even be playing him. We might see some more swaps. Tempest coming out here as well, so a little bit of team fight synergy with that Tempest, and that Zephyr, of course, layering those ultimates over each other would do a lot of damage, one after the other. And be interesting to see what from the lock pool Goobys ends up picking up here. I could imagine. Oh, we go Fade and a Bubbles there, so they end up picking up that solo roll. And this leaves a Glacius open or an Amphora. And both could be very, very powerful. I'd be very surprised if they pick up Pebbles, but who knows? I've been wrong before.
Yeah, touch of class. I was going to choose one of the two supports, I think. I actually think Deadwood Nymph, with that Nymph teleport, Deadwood's such a strong ganker anyway, that would probably accelerate his ganking even more. Nymphora obviously very strong in the lane as well, so I'd probably get them to pick up a Nymph here. We'll, of course, see what Palefighter decides to take here for a touch of class. I mean, just looking at the lineup so far, obviously they're probably going to be having Tempest in the jungle, Wild Soul in that suicide lane, and Deadwood, of course, he can mid pretty well, and yeah, so they do pick up the Nymphora there. We could be seeing something like a Nymphora Zephyr lane, possibly down bottom with a Deadwood in the solo mid role, so we'll have to take a look at what they decide to do. But meanwhile, on the QSQ side, they've got a pretty formidable lineup as well. They're going to have very strong lanes. Engineer, we've seen him played so much recently on the Australian scene, and he's pretty popular globally as well. So that's a nice pick there from Goobys as we get this game underway.
Yeah, that Engineer, as you were saying, he's becoming quite popular now. I mean, once the Spider Mines came in, he really dropped off from any games whatsoever, except people who went, oh wow, he's techies, let's play that one. Let's go Mines build or something like that. But he's definitely coming back now. That stun, having that power to move people around, his ultimate just tearing up team fights, not doing too much damage, but obviously making people scramble, silencing them as they try and run in and out. And obviously tablet of commands, which are a very popular item on him and on teams in general, can push them through and cause a lot of havoc. So definitely we're seeing, I think he's starting to get picked up more and more, as he is a very versatile hero when it comes to support. Doesn't need that much farm himself for his abilities to be quite powerful. We see that Fade and Engineer going to be going mid here. Bubble's going to be going in that long lane, and as you said, Zephyr and Nymphora, they're actually going to be in that bot. Deadwood potentially in that solo mid role, with Tempest denying that first wave of creeps. And looks like we're getting this game underway now with Looks like Wild Soul, as you said, is going to be in that top lane. Imagining he's going to be pulling that creep wave out from under Empath and the Dark Lady.
Yes, certainly. So he's Boo Boo there, and Boo Boo, of course, having that Iron Buckler and the Lawyer's Hatchet to start off with. So pretty standard all around, and he's just put that ward there to block the pull to get a little bit of vision around there as well. So it's not going to be contested by Goobys. So taking a look at the lanes where we do have a Deadwood mid, Tempest in the jungle, obviously, that we've got an Nymphora Zephyr lane as well, and Wild Soul up top, of course. So, pretty standard lane setups there. Meanwhile, for the Gooby squad, we've got Bubble at the bottom, Fade and Engineer in mid lane. So that'll be pretty burst heavy lane. Up top, of course, Empath just up there with Dark Lady to guarantee her a little bit of farm.
So personally, Gadget, what do you think of the lineup so far? Which one do you think has that strength at the moment? Has that better chance of winning this best of 3 HonTour season 10? I think it's round 10, season 1, obviously, of HonTour. Which one do you think is going to have that better time at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the lineups at the moment, if Deadwood is able to get some farm happening on a Touch of Class side, if he is able to get that early portal key, then he's a super strong ganker. So that could lead to a bit of a snowball in the rest of a Touch of Class lineup. And of course, they have lots of scaling on their side as well. Zephyr scales well. So does Wild Soul. Deadwood, I've already mentioned. So I think if they can get the farm, Touch of Class might have it.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're going to have to play very aggressively, though. So into that early game, trying to shut down that Dark Lady, make sure she can't get that farm up herself, can't get that Runed Axe online, potentially focusing on that Empath before level 6, that Engineer, even that Bubbles. Bubbles in a bit of a cheeky situation over on the side here. I'm not sure if he's actually within XP range, but he will be safe for now, as Nymphora is looking around and all the little traps trying to find him. Deadwood's in a little bit of trouble, actually. There goes that Engineer and that Fade coming into effect there. They are going to run into the tower. Fade getting keen, but that tower damage just so much right now. And Engineer running in there as well. He does have the keg, and if he's able to get a keg off, Deadwood could be in a little bit of trouble. Will he fire a blind one?
We see here about it. Archie is waiting in the bush there. Behind the trees, but no, I don't think he will in the end. Deadwood just going back into the lane. And Deadwood, he's a very strong, 1v1 champion with that, damage that he has. But in a 2v2 lane scenario, he doesn't have too much armor, he doesn't have too much sustain. So, that damage really isn't going to help him too much against this 2 mid that QSQ have set.
Yeah, I really hope Zephyr's going to be getting a lot of farm, and it does look like he's being pretty much left to his own devices, which is good, because that Deadwood is struggling, as you said, in that 2v1 lane. Deadwood actually faking out a grasp there. Tempest is off to the side, but Tempest doesn't have any mana, and just focusing on farming as he's only level 3. There's not much he can really do to come to assistance. Maybe a couple of auto attacks, try to scare off Goobys, obviously, but Deadwood looks like he's just going to sit in XP range, throw that tree out. It's not going to actually work that time. It's not as powerful as obviously that Dark Lady with the Taint Soul ability. But he's doing decently by all accounts. Obviously no Bloodlust as of yet. Hopefully we'll be able to keep our eye on it. I'm feeling for this Bubble, still only level 1, obviously playing that suicide role. Being kept way out of experience range now.
Yeah, we've got a 2 Nymphora that's right clicking onto a level 1. Although, just thinking about it, I think that if I was in a Touch of Classes situation at the moment, they've already shut down this Bubbles quite heavily. He's level 1 to Zephyr's 4, and Zephyr, he'll be able to 1v1 against Bubbles pretty strongly, as we actually see a bit of engage here in the middle lane. The keg goes out, so does the steam turret. Deadwood runs away, managed to get that rotten grasp onto Fade, however, but he is pretty slow. He's going to be able to get away from this one. We'll have to see. He's running down towards Tempest, who is coming, but no, the stun comes out, and the keg picks up the Bloodlust for Goobys.
Yeah, great Bloodlust there. Obviously that that Engineer and that Fade, a hugely powerful combo, similar to sort of a Magnus and an Engineer, or even a Pebbles and an Engineer. I mean, they've got that Cull, they've got the Burning Shadow as well, and that steam turret. You saw the amount of slow. Obviously, put 10 charges on him, and I believe he was at something like 35% reduced speed. So, had a lot of trouble getting out of there. And then again, Tempest coming in, but not really able to do anything, as really didn't have the mana or the speed to get there in time, as he is, I believe, saving up for that mana ring. So.
Yeah, and just looking at Touch of Class's lineup at the moment, I think what might be a better option for them is to instead of having this Nymphora just right clicking on this level 1 bubbles down in the bottom lane, is maybe to send Nymphora mid. Nymphora, she can support Deadwood pretty handily. Maybe let him get a few more creeps as well. But currently we've got a level 5 Zephyr down here in the bottom lane. I'm pretty sure Zephyr would be able to, easily V1 this bubbles and, still continue to deny him out pretty heavily. So we'll see if Touch of Class decide to send that in for him mid soon. Hopefully they will.
You make a good point. Maybe he's just waiting for that Zephyr to pick up the Helm of the Black Legion, or maybe they're waiting for an item, giving Zephyr that full amount of time to really take off. I really don't think... Actually, Deadwood in a lot of trouble again. The ports are coming in. It's not going to be anywhere... Oh, actually, no, the last auto attack from Engineer. You see Nymphora actually did teleport mid, but a little bit too late, as obviously that Fade with double damage, and that Engineer doing a lot of damage and a lot of disable. So I think Deadwood has had enough of this middle lane. He needs some help. Nymphora going to run off to the side to plant a ward and pick up a haste rune so that Fade won't be able to pick it up, I assume. And now Zephyr's level 6, Bubbles still level 1. Bubbles is going to stay safe by all means though, as obviously Zephyr can't really chase him down, take him down at all. And Strider's getting picked up by Fade, so going that Strider's route as opposed to anything else. So we're going to see potentially that fast roaming ganking Fade coming out towards the mid game.
Yeah, so the Riders on Fade, they're pretty strong. She can run through with that clear run, tree walking, all that good stuff. And so with those Striders, she's just going to be a little bit more mobile, in setting up those ganks. So I feel that's a pretty good pick up there by T Jimba on the Fade. And as I say, that looks like TDL just picked up one part of what I'd expect to be a Ruined Axis game, just to accelerate her farm into the game. So probably wouldn't be expecting that Nullstone. I mean, that's the great thing about what Goobys have done in this mid lane. They've shut down this Deadwood much that, he's level 5 at the moment. He's probably not going to be ganking any time soon, so he's not really a threat that the Dark Lady has to look out for in the early stages of the game. So, this is probably just a left TDL to build that, Ruined Axe, which I'd expect her to be picking up with that mana, and, increase farm.
Oh, certainly, and they're doing a great job of it. He's only level 5 at the moment. He's come up against a dual lane. They're sharing the experience, but Fade is level 6, and he's obviously Engineer's level 5. So he's on par with the support Engineer currently. You look at the gold per minute charts. He's sitting down there at 83, so he's actually below the Engineer when it comes to gold per minute. Wild Soul, not having the best time by any means, but he's doing okay. 146 for a Suicide. He's doing a lot better than that Bubbles, of course, but Bubbles really doesn't need much apart from the levels. Looks like Engineer's actually going to pick up this tablet of regen here. He's going to bottle it up. He will be fine. Tempest's trying to stop him, but not much he can do there.
Yeah, and Booba just continuing to pull those creeps for Wild Soul there up in the top lane, so you can get a few of those ones. And he's just waiting there before the creep wave just moves past. In the meantime, actually, we see Fade has used that ultimate, so looking pretty aggressive there, potentially looking for a Tempest to kill, moving towards a hard camp. But this may even be, may not quite be worth it for them, as Tempest is actually down in the bottom lane now. Now they're going to see that, they're going to know, and the reflection does wear off on Fade as well, so they're going to be pretty safe. But meanwhile, Deadwood is stunned in the middle lane. He does actually have access to that Willowmaker there. He does get the Rotten Grasp onto Fade. This could be a dead Fade. Yes, it is. Loka picks up the kill.
That was great there. Obviously, great team reaction. Tempest coming in with that glacial was it Glacial Blast. Nymphora was nearby as well. I don't think he was really needed, but just to make sure, of course. I mean, if Fade and others were nearby, it was in a little bit of trouble though. The wall coming out, the Essence Link as well. A couple of auto attacks coming out from Engineer. You're going to imagine the Steam Turret coming out. He is able to juke it and is able to get up the hill here, getting that little bit of speed boost from Nymphora with that magic coming out. Sorry, the mana regen. What is that? Grace of the Nymph. The Grace. Speed. While that's happening, Zephyr's pushing up right to this tower at the moment. Level 2 Bubbles struggling very hard. He ends up going to take cover route as opposed to the Song of the Sea, and I don't blame him. Ports are coming in though, and if Zephyr has not noticed this, actually Zephyr's going off to the side. Not much Bubbles can do, but Nymphora is here. Stun just misses that Bubbles, unfortunately, and the Gust is not in time, as obviously he had that takeover that I was talking about. Zephyr's in a little bit of trouble. He does have a couple of Whirlwinds. He's going to try and pop them out here, but the taunt is off. I think he's down. One more auto attack, and Hearty actually getting credit for the kill on that Engineer. So full response apart from Dark Lady coming out for Hellborn and guaranteeing that kill on the Zephyr. And
yeah, now Zephyr, in that fight, he actually tried to gust onto the Bubbles, so, you know, potentially a little bit greedy there. Bubbles was actually was taking cover at that point in time, so, you know, the gust hit, and potentially if Zephyr had saved that gust, then he could have even got away from that bad engagement there. But nonetheless, the Hellborn team have actually got an Engineer on 3-0 at the moment, 166 GPM, so not too bad at all for a support. He's actually looking to build at what I think might be an early 4-staff this game, yeah. So in the meantime, we're actually 3 members of AToC class pushing down this bottom lane, potentially looking for a tower here, Dan.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they've grouped up, they've got Tempest ultimate up. That Zephyr ultimate is not up for 40 seconds, but they do have Nymphora here, obviously a big AoE stun. They do have to be a little bit careful though, as Fade is off to the side, but it looks like they'll be able to take it down. The power of that those Tempest minions with the push, just far too much. While that's happening, Deadwood trying to recover some of that farm in the middle lane. Fade is in Viz though, and obviously still has that ultimate to back her up afterwards, and it looks like they might know Deadwood getting a little bit suspicious there, and we'll back out of there. And we see Fade come out of Invis. So maybe Fade and Engineer being gone for just a little bit too long. And obviously Engineer running at you full pelt. It's time to back off, as something might be missing. Something might be coming. And we see Engineer off into the jungle there. Empath's sitting nearby in that mid lane as well. So if they collapse onto this Deadwood, he could be in a bit of trouble. Obviously Tempest is nearby, and they could use him as bait a little bit here. Try and make a turnaround play. In fact, they make a move onto that Fade. The stun coming out from Fade, obviously after that Rotten Grasp, he's able to pop that reflection and walk away in Viz. Looks like they will group up here, trying to make something of it. Zephyr's in a little bit of trouble. He does have Mystic Vestments. There are the Elementals out as well. Engineer's going to be seen off to the side. He's going to drag some of those creeps away. So reduce their pushing power against the tower for now. While this is happening, I mean, Wild Soul sitting in that top lane. He's sitting at a 166 gold per minute. His farm is recovering slightly, and Nymphora looks to be a stacking jungle, I think. So now that Zephyr is a little bit stronger, potentially going to be doing some jungling himself, and but always, you know, stacking the jungle in general is just always a really good strat.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, just getting up that GPM always a good thing. So see exactly what he'll be doing there. And in the meantime, Dark Lady up in the top lane, working towards a ruined axe at the moment. So has that one broadsword and the sustainer. Almost has enough gold for that, you know, final complete axe there. Once she gets that, she's just going to be able to, you know, go into the jungle, maybe clear out a few stacked camps reasonably easily. And you know, this lane's been so easy, she hasn't even needed to max out that Taint Soul first. You know, instead opting for the more scaling style abilities of Blade and charging strikes. It's actually Zephyr in the mid lane, gets walled off, a little bit of damage goes onto him, so looks like AToC class might have to back out there.
Dude, we're actually moving to the top lane, and the Tempest moving up here as well. They're deciding, you know, this Dark Lady's had enough time free farming. She will be able to charging strikes out of there, though unfortunately no root coming out from Boo Boo. Just wasn't early enough, and because they vacated that middle lane, Fade, Engineer and Empath are going to push here, and Bubbles actually level 6 now, so his farm recovered quite quickly, as Nymphora is still only level 5. Zephyr's heading bottom. Still don't think Zephyr and Zephyr and Nymphora are really going to do much against this Bubbles, especially with Engineer coming, but it could be a way to hold off the Hellborn team. Actually, there we go, the Kelpfield coming out, Nymphora actually going down there, Zephyr getting knocked to the side with that keg, and a great steam turret off to the side as well to discourage him from chasing that Bubbles. Looks like Zephyr will just ignore him though and go back to farming.
And Zephyr very hardy at the moment. Hasn't actually got those tier 2 boots, but does have enough money for him. Probably expect him to, he could pick up phase boots this time. Awesome steams for a little bit of tank, but he's actually gone for the helm of the victim instead. Probably going to be building into some mystics there. Shaman 7 as Zephyr actually gets taunted there down in the bottom lane. I'm not sure if they have enough damage to clear him out there. He does have those cyclones as well, so I think she's just going to back out of there instead. In the meantime, Fade doesn't want to go any further on that one and just backs off. So yeah, currently 15 minutes in, 1-4 in favour of Team Goobys this game. I'm playing pretty well, but a touch of class and not letting them get as much of a snowball style lead as they did in the last game. So it's very much a close game at this point. And just looking at the gold per minute graphs, we've got Zephyr on about 300. The Tempest on more than 300 so far on a touch of classes side. So they're the heroes who you do really want to be getting farmed. So it's going to be a pretty close game, I think, Dan.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that Dark Lady, we haven't really seen her come out and do anything yet. But while that's happening, I mean, Deadwood's starting to pick up his farm himself. 171 is not great by any means. Nymphora's going to be a little bit of trouble here. The stun coming out actually hitting Deadwood. The keg coming out as well. Zephyr is here though. Tempest is here. Glacial Blast. Fade will fall. Obviously that Ward of Revelation in need of Tim or time being okay there. And that might be what they need to be able to push this middle lane now. While that's happening though, a bit of harass coming onto Wild Soul's in a little bit of trouble, trying to micro that bear. It will block himself somewhat. One more attack, he will get finished off here. Deadwood still does have that grasp, and he has the ultimate there. He used that ultimate, and we can imagine throwing the grasp up. He does get silenced though, and he's in a lot of trouble, and now he's the one backing off. Double tap for that Dark Lady. Unfortunately, that Legion team just coming in one at a time. Not really able to do much. Zephyr is here, and he will throw that ultimate down. There we see the Gust obviously through. Charging strikes out of there though as Empath drops a wall, so not the best plays coming out from a touch of class. I think that Deadwood maybe needed a little bit more backup when he went in, or needed to throw that Rotten Grasp a little bit sooner to try and hold Dark Lady off from just getting all over him.
Yeah, of course. Against a level 12 Dark Lady, Deadwood with the, ulti, it's still level 1. He's really not going to be able to burst it down unless he gets that Rotten Grasp out first and gets that -4 armor down as well. Dark Lady at the moment has 9 armor. That, physical damage nuke of the Willowmaker isn't actually going to be doing too much at the moment. 350, subtract Dark Lady's armor from that, that's barely more than the 200 damage nuke, so Deadwood really shouldn't have fought that one. As we actually see the point in from Tempest, a huge elemental void coming out on 3 members of QSQ there. Oh, they are going to all drop. I think Fade is invis, might get out of that one, but it's going to be 2 kills for a touch of clutch there in a huge Tempest ulti that was set up by the portal key.
Yeah, that brand new portal key making work, and that's what they need to do. Obviously that Tempest ultimate can just turn games, and you see there obviously they pick up 2. They're going to push. Actually no, they've already taken that tower in the mid lane, so not much they can do. Zephyr actually being a bit cheeky and taking the Hellborn the Ancients, leaving one behind so they will not respawn. That's very interesting. Obviously quite a long game kind of move, as obviously they want to slow down the farm of that Dark Lady, and as they'll have to kill it or obviously stack it again to make something happen. Fade throwing out the stun, not actually hitting anything, which is a bit unfortunate. While that's happening though, Dark Lady, she's got that Abyssal Skull, and she's content to free farm that top lane and push it all on her own. I can imagine if a touch of class gets this tower here, they're going to have to teleport top and try and make something happen on her. Deadwood potentially could go and Wild Soul with that Zephyr, but I'm not sure if they'll be able to end up catching up on that Dark Lady. You see the ports coming out here. The tower getting quite low, potentially dropping into deny range in a second, especially if they leave that catapult alive a bit longer. There we go, there goes the deny. And Zloka actually getting a deny on the bottom tower, so 2 towers denied. That's a lot of gold that Goomby's not going to be able to get now. And obviously a touch of class, slightly in the gold lead at the moment, 3,000. Still got to watch out for that Dark Lady though. 450 gold per minute. What kind of item do you want to see on that Dark Lady next, do you think, Gadget?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at what Lady's got so far, she's got that rune clear, got the Abyssal Skull as well. Next, you know, I'd probably be looking at maybe a Shrunk Head just in the gate. All of that, you know, all of that damage that Effort is going to be doing to her. You know, those Cyclones are magic damage, the Typhoon.